If you're new to credit cards, this video can literally save you thousands of dollars. This is because most beginners think that credit cards are about rewards, points, and free travel. But in reality, it's not where the game is won or lost. You see, the real damage happens when you don't understand the core rules. And trust me, nobody teaches you this stuff, especially the school system. So in this video, I'm gonna break down the 5 credit card lessons that every beginner needs to learn before they sign up or start swiping and using credit. And these are the exact rules that I've used to build my own credit journey to over 800, and I now spend more than $3,000 every single year on credit card annual fees and have some of the best luxury travel credit cards in the game. I've also traveled the world in business and first class and stayed at some of the nicest hotels in the world, all thanks to credit cards, but it's because I know these secrets. And I also know what to avoid so that I do not fall for the credit card traps. So if you want to build your credit the smart way and maximize credit card points and put your money to work, smash the like button, click the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and let's get started. Now, the first lesson that we have to talk about is how we're using credit and credit cards themselves. First, you must understand that credit cards are tools. They're not extra money. I have always used my credit cards simply as if they were a debit card or if I was using cash. I never use credit cards to buy things that I don't have enough money in the bank for. Now, fortunately for me, I've always been very conservative when it comes to buying things. In fact, to this day, I have a massive emergency fund, literally millions of dollars in investments. And so I don't really have to worry about, $50, $100, a couple $100 here or there when it comes to putting things on my card, because I know I can pay it off. But for somebody who is living more paycheck to paycheck, maybe only earning a couple $1,000s every single month, you must be very vigilant, because if you open up a new credit line and you get a new credit card, let's say the credit line's for $10,000, just as an example. If you go and spend $5,000 of that money and you only have $4,000 in the bank, this is where you could be putting yourself in a tough spot, because you're most likely not going to be able to pay off the card in full. If you can't do that, it's not the end of the world, but you will be having to pay interest, and interest rates can go from 20 to 30%, if not more, with some credit cards. So really, a credit card is going to either amplify your habits if you have good ones or if you have bad ones. And fortunately for me, I've had really good ones with credit cards. And in fact, credit cards actually pay me now because I actually know how to use them. So just remember, these things are tools. They're something that you can use to enhance your life, give you some really cool lifestyle things or some other benefits, because a lot of these cards will have really cool benefits, but they are not just free money or extra money. You do need to pay it back, and you do definitely need to be paying attention to how much money you're spending on these things. And remember, discipline beats any hack or trick. So by being here and spending the time to learn about credit cards, that's the best thing that you can do for your finances, in my personal opinion. Now, the second lesson you gotta learn about credit cards is that interest will absolutely wreck you if you let it. If you are carrying a balance, especially a big one, you're quote unquote losing the game. Here's what I mean by this. Credit cards make money by extending money to people who only make minimum payments. Here's an example. Let's say you have a credit card for $10,000 and you spend all $10,000. Maybe you had some emergency happen, you go on a vacation, and you just, you're new to a credit card, so you just think you have a bunch of free money and you go and you spend all of it. Well, then in a month later, you have to pay the bill, but you get a minimum payment of only $100. And you think to yourself, well, this is amazing. I only have to pay $100 today and I can keep going. It's no big deal. I'll just pay this off down the road. But what you fail to realize is that if you make the minimum payment, you actually be paying 20, maybe even 30% in interest over the lifetime of the $10,000 that you owe, which really means that you not only owe $10,000, but you're going to end up owing $12,000 to even $13,000 by the time that you pay this off. Now, it might not feel like that because you're maybe only paying $100 a month right now, but in reality, in the long run, interest can absolutely wreck you, and literally you're just giving money away to the credit card company. So what should you do? Well, I'll just share with you what I do, and that is I pay off my credit cards in full every single month. In fact, I pay off my credit cards regularly because I'm spending thousands of dollars on these, and for some of them I only have credit limits of like $20,000, $30,000. And if I spend $5,000 or $10,000 on something, which for me as a business owner, as a self-made millionaire, that's not that hard to do, I don't want that utilization to be eating up a lot of that card, because then it will lower my credit score. I have a credit score around 800 right now. It's because I know all these little details which make a huge difference in my credit. But the one big detail which I never fail to do every single month, and literally almost every single day that I get my credit card statements, is pay them off in full and on time. And a pro tip here is that Rewards for these credit cards don't matter if you're paying interest. So the points, the miles, the freebies, all that kind of stuff that you get with sign-up bonuses or whatever it is for the credit card, that stuff doesn't matter if you're paying interest, because essentially you're the one funding all of those freebies and points that everyone is getting for free. And it's because, well, you yourself are paying the interest. Now, look, there may be a time in your life where you do need to pay interest and you can't pay off your credit cards in full. I'm not saying that you have to be absolutely perfect when it comes to this, but what I am saying to you is that this isn't just free money here, and that if you do use your cards correctly, though, you can get those freebies, and that's where these credit cards can start to pay you. Now, the third lesson, if you're a credit card beginner, is that you should focus initially on cash back rather than points and miles. Here's why. When you're starting, simple credit cards are always better. You don't really want to overcomplicate things with categories, transfer partners, or even travel hacking. Now me, I'm much more advanced with this because I travel a ton. I love the points and miles game. It's just fun for me to play. And again, it really can equate to tens of thousands of dollars at the highest level, even hundreds of thousands if you do this the right way. So if you're a business owner and you run ads and you can actually accumulate a lot of points, if you do this the right way, you could earn hundreds of thousands of points every single month. You could literally have millions of points. And if you take those millions of points, you can get free hotels, free airfare, free everything for travel, like literally, and you can stay at some of the nicest places around the world. For me personally, I'm traveling almost every other week now. And because of that, because of my business, I then really look at honing in on these points and miles and how to actually use these credit cards the right way so that I can maximize those benefits so that I can get the most out of my travel. But when I first got started in my credit journey, I wasn't even paying attention to any of this. I just wanted the few extra percent in cash back, have that cash go into my account, and then spend it however I want to. And to be honest, I just focused on growing my business, which was the right decision, because then I had so much money coming in the door that I didn't really need to worry about trying to gamify all these different points and things with different credit cards and spending in different locations and a lot of different things that credit cards come with. But now, though, that I have the amount of money that I do in the bank / in investments, I can now nitpick at some of these points, miles, and other things to where I can be more advanced. But if you're just starting off, a simple 1% to 2% credit card gets you some cash back, and then you're building up your credit score. That is where I believe the sweet spot is and where I believe that you should be starting. Which leads us to number 4, and that is focusing on your credit score, even if it's boring. Your credit score is kind of like your report card, but for your finances. And this is something that you don't want to mess around with, because if you get a bad score, it's not like in college or high school where you fail a class that you just get to repeat it over again. If you go bankrupt or you have a really bad score, no one is going to lend you money for a very long time. Now, when I first got started in my credit journey, I had a very low credit score. I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have a car payment. I didn't have a lot of these things because I just paid with everything for cash. Because of this, it was very difficult for me to even open credit cards, even though I didn't have any debt to my name. So here are some things to focus on to raise your credit score. First and foremost, start small. You can start with just a small credit line, or if you have someone that can help you open your own credit line, this can be a great way for you to get started. Also, focus on a low utilization score, as this helps you build your credit quickly, and also make sure to pay everything off on time, if not early. These are the two things that are really truly in your control. And I know it might sound counterintuitive where, let's say you get a credit line for $1,000 and you're like, well, now I have a credit card, I want to go spend money on it. But in reality, you spend $600-700 and you're using 60% then of that credit. If you don't pay that off at least a few days before your statements gets charged, your credit utilization is going to look absolutely massive. So you really want to be paying that off before the statement rolls around, so that you lower the utilization, which then in turn will help build your credit score even more over time. And don't worry, time in the game will help. Don't feel like you have to rush everything. I've been at the points and miles game now for over 10 years, but I've just started to share this here on YouTube from my wealth of experience. Now, lesson number 5 is that annual fee cards are optional, especially in the beginning. And honestly, I wouldn't even mess with annual fee cards in the very beginning because they can be very complex to a beginner. Now, to somebody who's more advanced, it might not feel as complex because we've done this a million times, and we can offset the annual fee because we understand all the different nuances and details when it comes to doing so with the card, and we're actually using a lot of the benefits. But the truth is, if you're a beginner, free cards can be a great way to build credit, and you don't have to pay any fees for using them, so it feels like a debit card to you still. And if you're just starting in your credit journey, a $95 fee might still feel not cheap to you because you're not even using the perks, and $95 is a nice dinner out at some places. expenses. So yeah, you don't have to get an annual fee card. In fact, the very first card I got was the Chase Freedom, and that was a 0 annual fee card. I was earning 1.5% back in cash back, and I would just go spend the cash back. Now, looking back at that, knowing what I know now, I probably wouldn't have chose that option because I had more cash than I knew what to do with. But for a lot of you just starting off here, that might be a great first way to get started in credit cards and then to build your credit, get some points underneath you, get some cash back, and kind of see how this whole thing works. Because if you did dive right into an annual fee card and you weren't using all of the benefits, not only might you be making a lot of the mistakes that I've kind of shared with you in this video, but now you're out another $495, maybe even $700, even $900 in an annual fee. And that's a lot if you're not going to maximize the benefits or get the full amount from the credit card. So there you have it. Those are your 5 lessons as an absolute beginner. If you want to learn more about credit cards, or if you want to even know what credit cards I'm using, click the links down below. I have videos here on this channel about that. I also have referral links for credit cards if you are interested. Some of them are very small annual fees, and there's a few that are 0% annual fees. So if you are interested in supporting the channel, click the links down below. I very much greatly appreciate it, because then I'll be able to learn even more with you here and then reteach it to you here on the channel. And remember, this is not sponsored. This is just me sharing my own thoughts and opinions on what I've shared with you here. Thanks again for watching. And if you want to know exactly what's in my wallet, check out this next video. I handpicked it just for you.